Okay, so this video is probably going to rile some feathers, it's probably going to piss some people off, but sometimes you just got to tell the truth about something. What I want to do in this video is I want to cover the question that a lot of people ask, or the thought a lot of people have, where they'll say or think that they just don't make what they're worth at their job, that they're being underpaid. And the truth is, some people are. And I want to talk about why that happens. And I want to split the working employee base into two primary groups: the producing group and the non-producing group. Now, the producing group, these are the people that show up to work on time. They don't take extra breaks. They don't take extra bathroom runs. They actually get to work and do their job. The non-producing group are the people who habitually show up 5 minutes late, take an extra 10 minutes on their lunch break, make some extra runs to the bathroom, check out Facebook when they're at their desk, text message and chat with coworkers. Matter of fact, I saw one study that suggested that on an average work day, the average employee actually only produces about 3 hours worth of actual work during an 8-hour shift. And this causes a problem. I actually want to lay out some numbers. Now, I'm going to base this, as you guys probably know, I own a carpet cleaning company. It's one of the businesses I own. And I want to base this on my business. Now, I'm an owner-operator, which means I don't have employees right now, but I'm going to run some numbers as if I did. Now, I'm going to not use my real numbers. I'm making these numbers very rounded just to keep it very simple to show on a whiteboard. I don't want to make this too complex. It would make this video too long, but I think you're going to get the general idea of what happens and why the producers actually are underpaid in corporate America. So what I want to do is, in my carpet business, if my target rate, my target billable hour was $100 an hour as a round number. Now, from that, you always have static and variable business expenses. Things like, in my case, the lease on my van, chemical costs, fuel costs, insurance costs, marketing expenses, payroll outside of the producer, in other words, support staff in the office. Okay, all of those things come into a factor when you're dealing with these numbers. So let's say that for a round number, my expenses from that $100 per hour, the business cost me $50 an hour, not including the payroll of the person working the van. That's the person we're going to use in this example. So from that $100, we lose $50 right off the top. Okay, now that leaves us with $50 per hour after all expenses outside of the payroll for the person running the van gets paid. Now, from that, we got to talk about company profitability. If in my business model I decided that my company needed to profit $25 per hour to be viable and to give me a reason to stay in business, we would take out another $25 per hour. Now that would leave you with $25 for payroll for the person who's actually doing the work on that truck. Okay? Now, the $25, that's not what they're going to actually get paid, because that's what their benefits package is worth. But you got to remember, their benefits package also includes things like their unemployment insurance, Social Security taxes, medical, dental, vision, however that plays out with the Affordable Care Act. I don't think anybody really knows right now. But overall, the benefits package is worth $25. Maybe their actual pay would be around $18 an hour for a producer after all said and done, what they walk out with per hour. Now, here's the problem with that. I got to step out of frame for 1 second. Need to make a little bit of room here. Now, what happens is when you have a non-producer, and let's say the non-producer, they don't work quite as fast, they don't work quite as hard, they take some extra breaks, they don't upsell quite as good, and when all is said and done, they only produce $80 an hour of value to my company. Okay, instead of the 100, they're producing 80. Now, my expenses are going to stay the same. Okay, I still have the exact same expense ratio. Okay, that only leaves us with $30 instead of 50. Now, the company has to profit 25 to be viable. Leaves us with $5 for pay, for benefits, for everything else for this employee, because they're producing $20 an hour less worth of value because they're not as hard of a worker. Or there could be other things, we're just going to leave it there for now. So what happens in this economy. You know, and it used to be in this country, we were an economy based on opportunity. We strove on equal opportunity, but with equal opportunity, some people would succeed and some people would fail. We've moved from an equal opportunity society to an equal results society. It's beyond the opportunity now. People have to get equal results. So, you know, for the sake of argument, these numbers are a little bit too wild. Let's go here. Let's go 90 bucks of production. Make this 40, and that's going to be 15. It gives me a little bit more to play with. Okay, so 15 bucks an hour is what his benefits package is worth, minus all of his benefits. He may make 10 bucks an hour compared to this guy's making, what do we say over here, about 17 bucks an hour. Now, in the equal results economy, this does not fly. These people have the same job title. They have the same job. One produces more, but that doesn't matter in today's economy. What matters is that we have equal results. So what we have to do is we have to find a way to take the pay of the producer and up it a little bit. So when you do that, there's only one of two things you can do. You can either take away from the company, or you can take money away from the producers. And what happens is typically both. And I know some out there may say, yeah, stick it to the companies. But the reality is if the companies don't hit their profit margins, they don't stay in business, you lose your job anyway. So, you know, how much does that really help? So if we want to raise his income to say $12.50 an hour, we got to make up $2.50 worth of production somewhere. Say the company's willing to eat $1.50 of that. They're going to reduce their 25 by $1.50. The other buck's going to come out of the producers, right? That's just the way it's got to be. So that's going to lower his income to 16. Now you're thinking, well, that's not that bad. 16 to $12.50, that's still a pretty good ratio. The producer's still making more money. But that's not the end of the story. Because you see, the Pareto principle, which came out at the turn of the century, said that 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. And back then it actually was 20% of the people make 80% of the money. That's not really the case anymore because we're in a results-based economy, not an opportunity-based economy. But 20% of the people do 80% of the work. That means for every producer, you're actually supporting 4 non-producers. Now, if you lost $1 per non-producer of your wage, that drops you from 17 to 13, so that the non-producers can make $12.50. Now, isn't that what you really see in your job? If you are one of the producers, you're making a little bit more, but not the amount more based on the percentage of production you're actually giving. And the problem with this is, and the good news for the producers, but the bad news for corporate America and the bad news for the non-producers, is eventually the producers figure this out. Eventually they realize that this will never answer their dreams. And either they'll do one of two things. They either stop producing because they see they don't have to, or they'll move to a production-based environment and they're just going to leave completely this industry. And they're going to go someplace else. And then either way, you're losing the producers because they either stopped producing or they left the company. And now there's nobody here whose income can offset the non-producers and raise their income up. And either businesses go out of business or people start losing benefits and wages and getting hours cut because the producers are no longer there making the business profitable. Now, the answer is 2. 1, producers have to figure out where to go to be able to produce. And non-producers have to realize that you've got to become producers. This concept of a results-based economy that everybody should get a living wage no matter how hard you work or what you do is doomed to fail. It cannot mathematically succeed or last. You're going to have to become producers in one form or another if you want to continue on in the economy, or the economy is going to crumble. Now, above this video, or depending on where you're watching this video, somewhere around here is a link to my blog where I actually discuss some options of moving from an hourly wage economy to a production-based economy that will allow producers to actually earn what they're worth. So if you consider yourself a producer and you want to start making the money that you're actually worth, click on the link and check out the options of how you can move from an hourly wage-based company to a production-based company and actually start making the money you're worth. If you are not a producer, accept this as a wake-up call that you need to change how you're doing things if you ever really want to set yourself free. Feel free to check out the page as well, because there's also some links to some training that'll help you step up the game and become a better producer. So feel free to comment below. I know this is going to upset some people. I'm not meaning this at all as a personal thing. A lot of people are trained in our economy to think from a non-production standpoint. So it's not even necessarily the person's fault. It's the way a lot of training happens. But you've got to change if you want things to get better. We have to get rid of that old programming and bring in some new programming so we can actually start making some improvements that will last in this economy. So go ahead and comment below this video, click the link, go check out some of the options on how to expand your vision and your potential, and let's talk.